Hey there! Today I'll be doing a tutorial on impact exploding arrows for Minecraft Bedrock Edition. If you're new, consider hitting the little red button below the video. It lets me know that you like the content I'm making. Now, to the tutorial. To create a new scoreboard, simply go to the chat and type /scoreboard objectives add, and now this is the objective string, meaning the name. For simple uses, we'll just call this in-air dummy, and this last part doesn't really matter because we don't need a display name. Now, basically, just for those who may not know, in Bedrock Edition, the dummy specification simply means this scoreboard can only store values set manually by either the player or through commands. Let's go ahead and enter this. Also, to make life easier, we'll go ahead and set the display of this scoreboard in order to see what's happening behind the scenes. To do that, let's go ahead and type scoreboard objectives set display sidebar, and these options here basically just mean where it's going to show it. It'll either show the scores below your name in a list when you pause the game, or sidebar, which is on the side of the screen. And we will set that to in-air. And go ahead and enter that. And now, as you can see on the very right hand, we have an in-air score. Alright, first step done. Now you'll see I've already gone ahead and made a couple of commands here which will help us with understanding what's happening. And I also have a layout here which is for tutorial purposes of understanding what's actually happening. Alright, so for this first command, we need to be able to set a baseline value for the arrow. And let's go ahead and plop our command block down here. We're going to go ahead and type scoreboard players set all entities whose type is equal to arrow. And that is a specification for the entity type, which is an arrow. And we're going to set their score of in-air to 0. And we'll go ahead and put that on repeat and always active so that it will be running every single tick of the game. And there we go. So now whenever I shoot an arrow, it should have a score of 0. Boom, look at that. For this next command, we have to actually detect when the arrow is in the air. So we're going to update the in-air value, and this time by using a combination of two of the best commands in Bedrock Edition. We're going to go execute add all entities whose type is equal to arrow tilde. Now, after an execute command in Bedrock, you can actually do one more specification, I suppose, which is detect. So it can detect any sort of block, and we're going to detect at the position of the arrow, air 0. And this just means we're detecting the block of air and its data tag of 0. And when it does detect air, we are going to run the command of scoreboard players, and we'll set ourself because we are executing at the arrow, so this means the arrow will set itself a score of in-air 1. Alright, we'll set this to chain and always active. So basically what we've done is we are setting a baseline value for any sort of arrow, and we're going to check if it's in the air, and if it is, it's going to get a value of 1. Now afterwards, it's going to summon TNT if the in-air is equal to false or in-air is equal to 0. So it's a bit hard to understand, so let's just go ahead and type the command and we'll show it later. We go execute add all entities whose type is equal to arrow, but this time we are adding another requirement of scores equal to in-air is equal to 0. Now remember, we set the score of in-air to 1 whenever it detects air at itself, so if the in-air score is equal to 0, that means it's still in a block. Now we'll execute there, and we will go ahead and do summon TNT minecart and tilde, meaning at that position. And there's another tag or whatever you component. There's another component to the summon command of where you can set a specific event for the entity. So for a TNT minecart, we are actually able to do Minecraft on instant prime, which is really lets the magic happen of making it appear that it automatically blows up. Alright, I set up a nice barrier wall around the testing area so that I can test the arrows, and let's go ahead and see. And we have TNT exploding arrows. And so the whole point of this tutorial is that it explodes no matter if you're close or if you're farther away, because it's able to detect the impact of the arrow. Now you actually see I'm getting a double explosion here, so let's go ahead and fix that. I'm going to go ahead and set this to delay to about every 2 ticks, because what's happening right now is it's going every single game tick, and it is summoning multiple TNT minecarts, which cause it to explode, and there we go. There is a slight issue, however. So if you see, I was shooting at this wall over here. The arrow is very odd and works differently depending on which way it is facing. Now this proves to be quite an issue if you're wanting to do exploding arrows, because it only works in, what direction is this? The negative direction so far, it seems. If I shoot at either the positive X wall or the positive Z wall over here, and by positive X, positive Z, meaning the direction of the world in which I'm going, it will only blow up when I'm facing this direction, or this direction. Okay, so our block detection isn't working out so well. Let's figure out why. I've made this quick command chain here, which will hopefully show us a little more about the arrow and why they act so weird. Let's go ahead and set this to repeat. So what I've done here is I've had the redstone particle play at the center of the arrow, or at least where the center of the arrow seems to be. Now, it's interesting, I'm having it teleport facing me. It seems like if this were in any sort of block, it should be able to detect that it's in the block. Well, apparently that's not the case. Alright, so instead of doing a particle command at the arrow, I'm going to go ahead and just change this up to do the little tiny caret symbol. I'm actually not sure what it's called. I call it the caret symbol. It's probably called something else. So I'm going to go 1 block in front of where the arrow is currently facing is what this command is doing right now. So if I go back up to our example arrow here, you can see that it is indeed doing a redstone particle 1 block in front of it, except now when I go around the arrow, you would think the redstone would be on that side. It would be going in front of the arrow. But the weird thing about arrows is that it actually has an inverse rotation, or at least it seems to be. I'm not quite sure why this does this, or how it came to be like this, but this is just how the arrow works. Wherever it's facing, its actual direction is the opposite way of where it's facing. So whenever I'm shooting arrows into that wall over there, it's not exploding because it's detecting differently than what it should be. It's a little confusing, but I found a workaround by luck, really. Alright, so let's get into that luck that I found. So instead of doing an update and detecting error at the exact position of the arrow, we're going to go ahead and check for 1 block in front of the arrow by doing caret, 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 1. I think I said that correctly. So this basically is detecting 1 block in front of the arrow. Okay, let's go ahead and test if this worked. And okay, well, this wall is working. Let's go ahead and see. This wall still does not work, and I'm assuming... Interesting. This wall does work. Does this wall work? Oh, no it doesn't. So beforehand we had the issue of the arrow only exploding on, I believe, these two walls, but now, or no, it was those two walls. I don't even know, the walls aren't marked. But now it seems to be opposite directions when we're detecting one block in front of the arrow. So, to fix this, I ended up thinking, well, if it works in two directions one way, then it could work in the other two the opposite way. So we're going to have to copy basically these three command blocks over one, which is why I have these three signs here. So instead of actually retyping all these commands, we have a handy dandy command called the clone command. So if I type /clone, and I'm beginning one block in front of me, which is in the positive Z axis, and I'm ending 3 blocks in front of me, I believe. Now, whenever you're cloning something, it always goes by the most negative corner of that something of that structure. So we're going to go ahead and do this, I believe, -2 blocks back behind me. And this should work. There we go. Now we've cloned our little command chain. So let's go ahead and change this to a chain command block. Always active. Oh, we don't need those delaying ticks though. Alright, so let's go ahead and change it to that. Now next over here, instead of detecting one block in front of the arrow, we're going to detect one block behind the arrow, and that should hopefully fix our problem. And I think this should still be the same. Yes. Alright, so let's go ahead and test if this works. If we did everything correctly, it should be that we have instant. Yes, there we go. We have on impact TNT arrows. Look at that. And not only is it exploding arrows, but it doesn't go by a timer. So if I were to shoot this arrow way over there on that little hill, boom, we have an explosion. Or if I shoot it up close, we have an instant explosion. There is no time delay, there is no anything else. It is on impact explosion. And this should work. Let's go ahead and test it. It should work anywhere. It should work there on the ground. It should work on these little villagers over here, which was quite unfortunate that they're a part of today's tutorial. But that is what makes this fun. Oh, and you see there sometimes, if you catch it right on the corner, I believe, yeah, it does actually get stuck and not detect it, but almost any surface, it is able to go ahead and see that it is in the block and blow up. Alright, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed and found this tutorial useful and informative, and if so, you know, just a friendly reminder, maybe help me out by clicking the little red button below. It says subscribe. It's a pretty neat button. I would suggest clicking it. And yeah, see you in the next one.